The first thing is light, then the ceiling, then the slow, stupid realization that you are awake, and the world feels somehow different, but you don't know why. You blink and sit up. The room is clean in a way that feels aggressive. No clutter, no dust, no half-empty water glass on the nightstand. The walls glow faintly, not from a light source you can point to, but from the walls themselves, like they absorbed a sunrise and are slowly giving it back. The bed underneath you is the most comfortable thing you've ever experienced, which is unsettling because you don't remember lying down in it. The last thing you remember is Friday, a headache, your couch, a bowl of cereal going soggy while you scrolled your phone. Then nothing. And now this. You swing your legs off the bed and your feet touch a floor that is warm. Not heated floor warm, alive warm. Like the building knows you're cold and decided to fix it without being asked. There's a window. You walk to it. Outside is a city. Your city, technically. Same general shape, same river cutting through the middle, same hills in the distance. But everything built on top of it is different.
What?
The buildings don't reach up so much as they grow up, curved and layered, covered in something green and living. Trees on rooftops, vines on walls, entire floors wrapped in gardens 50 stories in the air. The streets below are quiet. No horns, no exhaust. Vehicles move in smooth, silent lines like they've been choreographed. The sky is a color blue you've never seen in a city before, clear in a way that feels almost rude. You stand at the window for a long time trying to decide if you're dreaming. You're not dreaming. A panel on the wall illuminates. A voice, calm, genderless, warm, says, "Good morning. You've been in recovery sleep for approximately 36,500 days. Today is the 14th of March, 2124. Current temperature outside is 19 degrees. Would you like breakfast?" You stare at the panel. 36,500 days. You do the math without wanting to. 100 years.
Oh my God!
You ask the voice what happened to you. It tells you, calmly and without drama, that you were part of an involuntary cryogenic preservation event. There was an incident. It uses the word incident the way doctors use the word discomfort, involving an experimental medical trial, a clerical error, and a freezer unit that was never supposed to be used on humans. Technically, you were a mistake. The good news is the mistake worked. You are alive, functional, and have approximately the same biological age as when you went under. The bad news it does not state, but you already know it. Everyone you knew is gone. They assign you a guide. Her name is Noah. She's 28, works for something called the Continuity Bureau, which is apparently a government office that handles people like you, displaced persons from the past who've been recovered, thawed, and released into a world that moved on without them. She's professional about it. Not cold, but practiced. Like she's done this before and learned not to get too attached to the adjustment period. She takes you outside. The first thing you notice is the quiet. Not silence. There's sound everywhere. Birds, wind, distant movement, but no noise. No mechanical grinding, no combustion, no city hum of 10,000 engines running at once. The world sounds like it exhaled. The second thing you notice is the people. They look ordinary. 2 eyes, 2 arms, the usual arrangement. They're dressed simply, nothing theatrical. No silver jumpsuits, no hovering shoes. They walk and talk and carry things and stop to look at their devices, which are thin and transparent and held with the same half-distracted slouch you remember from your own time. You ask Noah about phones. She hands you a small transparent card. It's warm to the touch. She says it's already configured for you. Language, location, preferences, and that it learns the rest as you go. You hold it up and see the street through it, except now the street has a layer of soft text floating over it. Names of buildings, air quality, who owns what tree, whose garden that is up on the 14th floor. The city annotated in real time. You lower the card. You're not ready for that much information. Noah takes you to a cafe. It looks almost exactly like a cafe from your time, which you find either comforting or suspicious and can't decide which. You order something she recommends. It arrives in a cup, it's hot, it tastes like coffee the way coffee always promised to taste but rarely did. You drink it and feel, briefly, like a human being. You ask her what you missed. She pauses in the way people pause when the answer is too large to fit in a single sentence, and they're deciding how much to hand you at once. She tells you the basics. The climate got worse before it got better. There was a decade, she calls it the reduction, where things got very hard in a way she doesn't elaborate on and you don't push. Then, a generation of people decided to fix it, with a thoroughness that surprised everyone, including themselves. The cities were rebuilt around living systems. The energy is clean, the food is grown locally, mostly in the buildings themselves. People work less and with more intention. There's still government, still disagreement, still bureaucracy, still the unique human talent for making simple things complicated. But the baseline, she says, is better. Not perfect, better. You ask about war. She looks at her card, says there are 3 ongoing conflicts, all regional, all complicated, all being negotiated by people who seem serious about finishing them. You get the sense she's summarizing the way a tour guide summarizes a country's entire history in 2 minutes. Accurate, but compressed. You ask about the internet. She smiles for the first time. She says, that's complicated. They give you an apartment. It's small, clean, that same aggressive smoothness everywhere. The walls adjust their light based on the time of day. The kitchen knows what nutrients you need and nudges your choices without forbidding anything, which you appreciate. There's a bed that is, again, unreasonably comfortable. You have no job, no history in this system, no credentials, no network. You are, administratively speaking, a person who doesn't quite exist yet. The Bureau gives you a stipend while you orient. It's enough, not generous, but enough. You spend the first 2 weeks walking. The city is something you need to read with your feet before you can understand it. You find parks woven between buildings. You find markets where people trade things grown on their own floors. You find an old neighborhood, genuinely old, preserved, where the buildings look like your time. You stand on that street and feel something you can't name. Not nostalgia exactly, more like seeing a photograph of yourself as a child and recognizing the face, but not quite claiming it. You find a library. It's not called a library, it's called a memory house. But it works the same way. Shelves, quiet, the particular smell of organized information. You go there every day. You start reading about what happened in the 100 years you missed, the incidents and the recoveries, the people who tried and the people who failed, the slow, grinding, unglamorous work of fixing what was broken. You read until your eyes hurt, and then you sit and think about the people you knew who lived through some of it and didn't make it to the other side. Your parents, your friends, the guy who made your coffee at the place near your apartment, whose name you never learned. You think about them every day. That part doesn't get easier. Around the 6th week, you meet Marcus. He's in the memory house, in the same section you always sit in, reading something on his card with the focus of someone who is either fascinated or avoiding something. He's around your age, or rather, around the age you appear, mid-30s, easy manner, the kind of face that looks like it's been laughed in frequently. He notices you noticing him. He nods, you nod back. He says, without preamble, "You're a sleeper, right?" You ask how he knows. He says you read like someone trying to catch up, not like someone revisiting. There's a difference in how you hold the information, apparently. He's observant in a way that feels like a skill he developed rather than something he was born with. You talk for 2 hours. He's a historian, the human kind, not the algorithmic kind, which is apparently a distinction people care about here. He studies the early 21st century, your time. He has spent years reading about a world you actually lived in, and you have spent weeks reading about a world he was actually born in. The two of you, between you, have the full picture. It's the strangest conversation you've ever had. He asks you what it was really like, not the data, the feeling of it. You think about Friday, the cereal, the headache, the unremarkable weight of an ordinary evening that turned out to be the last one. You say, It felt like everyone was waiting for something to change while also being certain that nothing would. Like the world was a problem everyone could see and nobody believed they personally had the power to solve. A low hum of dread that people had learned to live on top of like it was just the floor now. He writes that down. Actual handwriting in an actual notebook. You watch him do it and feel something strange and specific. You ask why he writes by hand. He says because typing is thinking out loud. Writing by hand is thinking for real. You decide you like him. Months pass. You find a rhythm. You volunteer at the memory house 3 days a week, helping catalog records from your era. It turns out lived experience is considered a primary source, and your ordinary memories, the texture of a grocery store, the sound of a traffic jam, the specific anxiety of checking your bank balance, are genuinely useful to people trying to understand what daily life felt like. You are, without meaning to become one, a historian. You learn the city. You learn the food. You learn enough of the new language layers, the shortcuts and references that 100 years of culture have added to the words you already know, to follow a conversation at a dinner table without getting lost. You get a plant. You name it something small and keep it alive, which feels like a victory on the scale that matters. You think about home less as a place and more as a time, and you begin, slowly, to accept that you cannot go back to the time. One morning, 8 months in, Noah calls you. She sounds careful, in a way that makes your stomach drop before she says a word. She tells you there's been a development. The investigation into your cryogenic case has turned up new documentation. It wasn't entirely a clerical error. The medical trial you were enrolled in, without your knowledge, without your consent, was run by a private company. The same company that has, over the past century, quietly and legally transformed into one of the largest infrastructure firms in the world. The buildings with the living walls, the silent vehicles, the warm floors, the card in your pocket, all of it, or most of it, traces back to them. She tells you there is a settlement process, compensation for wrongful preservation. The number she quotes is significant, life-changing, even in a world where you're still figuring out what your life is. You ask how they built an empire from a medical trial error. She pauses. She says it wasn't quite an error. The trial was testing the long-term viability of human cryogenic preservation. They needed subjects who wouldn't be missed immediately, people living alone, people without family checking in, people who could disappear into a Friday evening and not be noticed for long enough that it would look like they'd simply moved on. You were selected, not randomly, selected. The incident, the clerical error, the freezer unit that was never supposed to be used on humans. All of it was the plan. You sit with that for a long time. The warm floor hums faintly under your feet. The walls hold their soft light. The card on the table glows with the city's quiet data. All of it built on 100 years of profit. All of it, in some small and terrible way, built on you. You look out the window at the clean sky, the growing buildings, the quiet streets of a world that got better. You think about whether better and good are the same thing. You decide they're not. And then you pick up your card, and your notebook, and your coffee that tastes the way coffee always promised it would. And you go back to the memory house. Because the past still needs to be recorded accurately. And now, more than ever, you're the one who should be doing it.